welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name's Emily and I make videos about anxiety and mental health stuff. That's my kitten Martha, who you will probably hear throughout this whole video because she is Raj. Today's video is going to be on things you should never say to an agoraphobe, and I want to quickly do a little disclaimer of everybody that has agoraphobia suffers from it very differently. I've had agoraphobia for varying kind of degrees of agoraphobia for about 10 years, I think, maybe slightly less than that. When I first started suffering with agoraphobia, I literally could not leave my house at all. You know, going to the doorstep was seriously challenging. Going to the end of my driveway was very, very hard. I lived with my parents at that point. And then progressively throughout the years, you know, I live on my own now, I've got my own little flat. It's still close to my parents' house. So, you know, if they ever went on holiday or anything, I'd really struggle with that, them not being close. I can go, today I went to a big supermarket, probably like a 10-minute drive away. You know, those kinds of things. On some days I can do those things, some days I can't do those things. I find it extremely difficult to leave my city, and I haven't done for many years. The last time I did was for a funeral, which was a 4-hour drive away, and that was years ago, and it was extremely hard. Agoraphobia is something, you know, is very close to my heart, obviously, because I suffer from it, and it's a very serious, heartbreaking, difficult, nauseating illness that your whole life, somebody that struggles with agoraphobia does not go a whole day without thinking about agoraphobia. You're constantly kind of thinking about what you should be doing, you're constantly thinking about you wishing you could be normal, you're constantly thinking, how come everyone else can do it? Most people with agoraphobia find it difficult to have a regular job, to have relationships with people, to feel heard, to feel understood. And a lot of people with agoraphobia also have other anxiety or mental health disorders, depression, OCD, emetophobia, generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety, all of these things. People tend not to just have agoraphobia. So if you're somebody with agoraphobia, you might, you know, be at a stage where you're, you know, some people with agoraphobia are able to go on really long distances. They've just been, you know, practicing for many years, and they're finally at a stage where they can do little bits of travel and stuff. So whether you are somebody with agoraphobia that is at the very beginning, or you are starting to really progress in it, I hope that there's something here for everybody. And the main reason I want to make this video is because I want people to be able to, if you are somebody with agoraphobia, to feel like, yes, I feel seen, I feel heard. But also, if you are at the initial stages of talking to certain people in your life about your agoraphobia, I'm hoping that if you are somebody that has a loved one with agoraphobia and you're watching this video, please have an open mind, have an open heart, and understand that this isn't a choice for them at all. It is the most difficult thing I've ever dealt with in my life, having agoraphobia, and we just need support and we need love, and the more support and love we get, the better we get. So I asked on a group that I'm a part of called Agoraphobia Support Group, which has, I think, about 6,000 people in there. I asked, what is the worst thing you could say to an agoraphobe? And I got many, 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 many comments. A lot of people saying similar things, and some people saying things I'd never even thought of. But I think for most of us agoraphobes, we all get the same kind of comments all the time, which are frustrating and ridiculous sometimes, and sometimes they're like, okay, I can understand why you feel like that would be helpful. But I'm going to discuss as many of them as I can today. I can't discuss all of them in this video because there was a lot, but I'm going to discuss as much as I can today and describe the reasons why somebody with agoraphobia wouldn't want to hear this and why it might be upsetting or offensive. One of the biggest comments I got was, just go outside and get some fresh air. I think people that have never suffered with mental health think that fresh air, clean eating, exercise and all these things are the recipe for getting well. And for, you know, a large part of that I would agree. I think that, you know, when you're eating healthy and you know, you're able to exercise and all these things, it's not going to harm your mental health. However, somebody with agoraphobia, if you think about this pandemic that's just happened, the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think about how scary it must be for somebody that is highly vulnerable, somebody with chest problems, somebody that's over 70, somebody that's in the most vulnerable group, think about how they would feel going into a shop where nobody was wearing masks, people were coughing. How do you think they would feel? They would feel extremely in danger. They would think, okay, if I get this virus, I'm going to be seriously unwell and maybe die, and this is a breeding ground for COVID-19. That is how people with agoraphobia feel all the time. And to make it worse, there isn't a necessarily logical reason. That makes it feel worse for us. There isn't a reason for me. I never had this big massive trauma outside that was like I was in a car crash so I'm scared of cars. I was in a plane accident so I'm scared of planes. There wasn't a logical reason for me to find going out difficult. I've had many different things happen which probably all created some form of trauma resulting in what I suffer with. Probably similar to people with agoraphobia elsewhere. Agoraphobia is kind of like an extreme panic disorder, and what happens when you're having a panic attack is there's a specific part of your mind that doesn't actually know the difference between something that is actually extremely dangerous, for example being chased by a lion in the middle of the high street, and something that isn't actually dangerous but our minds have told them it is. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala that doesn't actually know the difference between these two things. So when somebody has a panic attack, their brain is actually sending signals to all different parts of their body that there is extreme danger. Our bodies react like we're being chased by a tiger. So we get extreme nausea, we feel all this crazy adrenaline coming. But because we don't tend to sprint when we have a panic attack coming on, all of this adrenaline is just rushing through our body. So when we're sitting in a car, for example, and we're finding that really hard, it's like a lion is sitting in the back seat, breathing down our necks. And we are experiencing extreme nausea, we're experiencing heart palpitations, sweating, and the big one of like a feeling of doom. And that is the only way I can describe it, is your whole body feels like something extremely terrible is about to happen. It is a medical thing. This isn't just a thing in your head, this is also a medical thing. So I'm going to be moving on because I've talked about that one for ages. The next one I got, I really resonated with this person, and they said that somebody said to them before, if you're so anxious, why do you even come? Let's say there's a family party, it's somebody's birthday, there's a big celebration happening at somebody's house or in a restaurant or wherever it is. Your wife, husband, child, friend, partner, mother, whoever it is that's suffering with agoraphobia, has probably thought about that event the whole time that they've known about it. The whole time, when they got the invitation, a month before, let's say, they've probably been thinking about all of the things that could go wrong, all of the things that could maybe go right, the car journey, the people that are going to be there, how do I get home, what if I have a panic attack, what if this happens, what if nobody understands, what if I make a fool of myself, what if I get really sick, what if we have to phone an ambulance, what if I ruin the whole event because I'm taking it up with my panic disorder. They've probably thought about every single question you could possibly imagine. So when they actually get to that event, you have no idea how much mental torment and physical torment they have gone through to get there. So when a person with agoraphobia turns up at your event, your party, your wedding, your whatever, it's because they really like you. Most of the time it's because they really, or they feel pressured, but let's just pretend it's because they really like you, and they want to support you, they want to be there for you, they want to spend time with you. If that person who has gone to your event starts to feel extremely anxious and unwell, they have gone through so much to get there. It shouldn't ever matter about the outcome. If they are not able to stay, if they have to go home early, you should be so proud of them and so honoured that they decided to come. People with agoraphobia, their brains aren't thinking the same as you, and I know that you, if you're somebody that doesn't suffer with agoraphobia, are thinking, but all she did was get on a bus and come here, just like we all did. And it's not that big a deal, nothing bad happened to her, she's perfectly fine, she's perfectly healthy, there's nothing for her to be scared of. An agoraphobe's brain doesn't think in that same way. So for an agoraphobe, she has actually overcome extreme circumstances to get there. In her head, she's chased 3 lions before she's managed to get there. Her body has ran a marathon. Her body has gone through like extreme physical symptoms in order to get there. So for somebody with agoraphobia to be there, I don't know, as a friend, you should be honoured, you should be happy, you should feel loved, you should feel proud of her. And if you don't have those feelings, maybe you should be talking to yourself and thinking about, okay, I really need to start being in her shoes, and I can't really understand what she's going through. It doesn't really make sense to me, but she's trying to explain it, and I need to try and understand it. On the other hand of this, if you are creating a pressure-free, loving, caring, kind environment for your friend, I have plenty of friends I know if I went to their party and I had to leave early, they would be so happy that I decided to go. They would be so proud of me for going on that public transport or getting a lift there or whatever. They would be so proud of me for doing that, and they would want me to be happy, just like I want them to be happy. 9 times out of 10, I am much more likely to be able to do things that are difficult for me if I'm with somebody that understands, that cares, that knows what to do in a panic attack situation. It might seem like too much to ask, and if it does seem like too much to ask, then obviously you're not the right friend for that person. The next one is, I'm certain if it was a matter of life or death, you'd be able to go out. Yeah, if your house was on fire, if you're an agoraphobe and your house was on fire, you would probably leave the burning building. You probably would. Would it be comfortable and a good experience for you? No. And a lot of the time, this is the exact same as you saying to somebody that was bedbound with COVID-19, let's give it a topical illness, somebody that was bedbound with COVID-19, would you go over and say to them while they are exhausted, sleeping, coughing, high temperature, feeling awful, feeling like they've been hit by a train, worried about having to be hospitalised, would you go over to them and say, yeah, but you know, you could probably go to the shop if you really wanted to. You are being lazy, which was another big one. If you just went outside, you might feel better if you got some fresh air. Fresh air is great for everything. I'm sure if the house was on fire, you'd probably be able to get up out of your bed and go outside. You would not say that. And I hate to say this, it's probably because you can relate to them more. Human beings are selfish. I am a selfish human being. Every human being around me is a selfish human being that thinks about themselves first. I think about my friends, I think about my family, I think about humanity, and I want to try and do good things as a human being, but I also think about my own needs, my own shelter, food, accommodation, all of these things I think about all the time, because that's how human beings work. You think of your stomach rumbling, you think you need food, how do I get food, I need money, and you need to be selfish. But I think it is quite a selfish thing to not be able to relate to somebody else, to not be able to say, okay, I've never experienced agoraphobia, I've never understood it, I just can't imagine what it's like to be scared of the outside world. That sounds really like I don't understand it. That is totally fair enough, because I imagine it's a really hard thing to understand. But what you do need to understand if you love somebody with agoraphobia is they are telling the truth. What they're telling you about their illness is the truth. It is grim, it is hard, it is horrible, it feels like there's no hope. There's a lot of things with agoraphobia that are just so painful and hard. Believe them, listen to them, understand them. It's okay to ask them questions. But what it's not okay to do is make assumptions about their illness, make assumptions about what will work. If you hear about a miracle cure, maybe do some research before suggesting it to them. And remember that what they're going through is harder than what it is to love them. What I mean by that is, somebody going through agoraphobia already feels guilt, already feels shameful, already feels stupid, illogical, like they can't do anything right. If you're coming in with judgments, it's not going to strengthen your relationship with them. It's going to push you further away from them. And sorry, I'm going on and on about each point, so I'm going to try and do a couple more quick ones. The next one I got a lot of was, you need to push yourself. People say this all the time. You need to, whether they say it in a nice way, like have you tried exposure therapy, what if you just took small steps, etc., or they can say it in a horrible way of, you need to push yourself, get a grip. I got a lot of get a grips, change your way of thinking, don't you miss going out, it's not normal, you can't stay in, just go out, all these things. They all mean the same thing of, if they went outside and saw that the outside world isn't as bad as they think, maybe they'll get better. And that's an okay way to think. I can totally understand your reasoning behind that, but I've been doing exposure therapy for many years, and it has helped to a degree. Like I said, I used to be housebound, and now I can do certain amounts of time in the car with certain people. Still very hard. If I had my own way and just wanted to, you know, do what I want to do and not think about all the other things, I would probably be quite happy to walk up and down the street for the rest of my life and just like see my friends and blah blah. But that's not, you know, the way of the world, and so I want to push myself. This pushing yourself has to come from the individual. If you have a child with agoraphobia and you're watching this and you're like, I just want them to be normal and be happy, the best thing you can do is give them a pressure-free, loving, non-judgmental environment to thrive in. To say to your child, I love you, whether you stay in the house or travel the world, doesn't matter to me, as long as you are safe and you feel loved. If you say to your child, I want you to know that the car is always there and we can go on adventures whenever you feel up to it, but there is no pressure for me at all, and if you don't want to do that for the next 20 years, that's okay. I know that your heart might be fluttering right now and being like, but what if I say that and then they actually do stay in the house for 20 years? The more of a comfortable, loving environment you create for your child, the more likely they are to feel safe and loved and heard and able to do these things. I'm not an expert. I am just merely a person that has suffered with agoraphobia for 10 years. I know it worked for me, and I think the majority of people with agoraphobia can confirm that the less pressure they have on them, the more love they experience, the easier it's going to be for them to trust somebody to take the next step with. So if you're wondering what to do and you just want your child to be normal and happy, that is my advice. If you say to your child you need to push yourself, all they're hearing is, I need to go and stand outside with the lions so that my mum's happy. And you don't want your child to have to do that. You wouldn't want to have to do that. That's my take. And I'm going to finish with one that I got a lot of, which was one that I also had written down before I talked to anybody else, which is, we need to drug you up so you're out of it and wake you up when you get there. I've had this so many times. Sometimes it's said as a joke, which is fine, ha ha ha. Sometimes it's said in a serious manner of, what if we took you on a plane, we gave you a bottle of wine and loads of drugs, you were completely knocked out, and then we woke you up in a new country. There is so many things wrong with this, and I know that you might have been saying it as a joke, which is okay if your friend feels like it's a joke and they can take that and blah blah blah, but for the most part, let's just look at this. If you are having to drug your child, and it's different when you have a phobia of flying and you're prescribed medication from the doctor to fly and that works for you, that's totally cool. And if you're somebody with agoraphobia and you really want to go to a different country and you just need the help to get there and you take drugs to get there, great. I think that's amazing and I'm really proud of you. But saying to somebody else when they've not requested this or they don't have a desire to go anywhere, they're not ready for it. Why on earth would you want to do this to somebody? That's what I don't understand. If somebody requires being completely knocked out in order to be able to fly or be able to do something, what enjoyment are they getting out of that? When they wake up in the new country, they're going to be just as terrified and like, I am not in my home. Agoraphobic people don't like being out of their home. Like, it's not gonna... The only person that's going to help is you, because you want to go on holiday with them, you want to go away without feeling guilty. That's the only person that's going to help. And I know loving somebody with agoraphobia is hard, and if you have a child with agoraphobia, it's really hard. And on a personal level, it's hard, of like not being able to fly or maybe not being able to go to people's houses because your child needs you more, or you know, there's so many things that it comes with, or not being able to like go to family parties with your children or with your partner or whoever it is. I know that it's hard for you too, but just put yourself in their shoes. And I think the lion analogy kind of does work for this. It's like you are putting your partner on a plane with 3 lions in it, and the lion could get to them last and they could like make it, or the lion could get to them first and they won't make it. When they're in the new country, they wake up having been drugged in, it's surrounded by lions. How would you feel? You would feel terrified. That's genuinely how it feels. In our bodies, in our minds, that's how it feels. It feels like we are in extreme danger. So telling us you want to drug us and put us on a plane and just wake us up somewhere and we have no option but to just get on with it is offensive, upsetting, and ridiculous to be able to say that. Like, and if you have said it before, it's okay. As long as you learn from these things. I have said loads of millions of things that have been completely wrong about mental health, about loads of different things in life that I've not understood properly, and made stupid comments about it and then later realised I shouldn't have said that, that wasn't okay. that's fine. But as long as, if you're watching this video and you don't have agoraphobia, you obviously are in a place where you want to learn about it, and that is the best possible thing you can do for your loved one with agoraphobia. So I'm happy and very proud of you for taking that step to try and understand them, because I know it's not easy. And I just wanted this video to be a bit of a getting to know people with agoraphobia, understanding it. And if you're an agoraphobe, I get you, I understand you. It's hard, and I don't wish it upon anybody, and I've never struggled with anything that's been as difficult as this, and some days I feel hopeful and some days I don't, and hopefully this video helped you a little bit to feel less alone, to know that there's others that feel the same way as you. It's quite an isolating illness. We're not a very vocal community. I can't imagine us having any meetups anytime soon. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, whatever situation you're in, and I'd love to see you next time.